Oh, no, I think there's kind of shady probably knows better than not know the livestock facilities and it's publicly.
Tuesday, the newspaper source as schools electrical site, previous level of restrictions. And they have specifically against livestock, like President problem. City attorney, I think, research the situation found restrictions could be lifted by the previous and the current generation legal process. City reached out on several occasions. Asking the commission to purchase C due to the cease additional funds. The commission was truly interested in the idea. The city never received any indication that this legal process will work. So for about paper. The city wants to be clear that the offer is still available. The city is 100% supports such a facility, no matter where its final location. And that such a facility only needs the opportunity for citizens.
Thanks, Martin.
Their coffee.
Brett, did you want to speak?
I was just gonna, I won't be here, Mark, I was just gonna still pick me up again.
I don't know if it can. or not.
Commissioners, thanks for allowing me to speak. Rhett Deesmer, as always, from Congressman's office greetings and everything. Also, hope you have a successful Italian Heritage Festival. I'm gonna try and get over here and see a bunch of you out there in the street. Just wanted to let you know that the Congressman's office is still ready, willing, and able for any kind of grant requests that you might have. We have it on our website or other services. A lot of things going on now. Also, we've got we were joking around about the catfish, but this drought's a serious issue. All counties are involved. The Congressman's office is aware of it, and so are the other offices as well. But, it's in the hands of the governor right now. But, just letting you know that it's on our radar, and we can do anything else for you. Just let us know. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there anyone on Zoom that wishes to speak publicly? Anyone on Zoom wish to speak publicly? Hearing none, we will move to number 2, the consent agenda. What's the pleasure?
Motion approved, please.
Motion to approve consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Number 3, payroll change notices. We have none. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Number 4, minutes and or amended minutes of previous meeting.
Madam President, I would ask that we pull this from the agenda for this week. There's a few minor changes and I haven't had a chance to talk to the county clerk about them yet. So I would just, if we could, just put it on the next agenda.
Are we all right with that? I'm okay with that.
Do you want a motion to table?
Yeah, it's probably.
Motion to table item number 4.
Motion to table item number 4. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Number 5, requisitions, purchase orders, invoices, A and B. What's the pleasure?
Motion approved A and B.
Motion to approve number 5, A and B. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Number 6, exoneration corrective tickets, joint applications. It appears that we have all three. What's the pleasure?
Motion to approve A, B, and C, please.
Motion to approve number 6A, B, and C. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. We have nothing under 7, is that correct?
That is correct, Madam President.
Number 8, review, discuss, consider entry of an order of the county commission which would extend the termination date of Harrison County Development District number 2, Charles Point, and amend the project plan for such development district to permit the issuance of tax increment revenue obligations with a maturity date not later than 30 years, from their issued date. Sorry about that. What's the pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Discussion.
And this, go ahead, David, just a motion to approve and to 30-year from the issue date
And a fixed signature.
of the president.
I don't think we can do 30 years from you got the date go up.
Sure.
Morning, Commissioners. For the record, Jason Turner from Steptoe and Johnson County Bond Counsel on this matter. Get to your point here in a minute, but just for the purpose of, this is the third time y'all have taken an official action on this. So just for the purpose of the media and the public, understand where we are. Third official action. So you set the public hearing at the end of June, you set the public hearing for end of July. Had the public hearing, voted to submit the application for the extension of the TIF district and the changes to the maturity provisions of the project plan to the West Virginia Department of Economic Development. Received the letter from the Department of Economic Development last week, August 20th. And so we are now here at the third and final official action of the county commission to actually approve the extension of the district by 15 years and the associated changes to the project plan. Now, Commissioner Hinkle, you were raising a question or a point.
30 years, 15 on the balance.
So the idea is that the original project plan stated that tax increment financing obligations couldn't have a maturity longer than 30 years from creation of the district. And so the easiest way to make an amendment to the plan would be to just change that from 30 years from creation to 30 years from issuance, which is what is allowable under the constitutional amendment for tax increment financing as well as the TIF Act. Practically speaking, if there's no way to, if the district will terminate prior to 30 years from issuance, then certainly we can't have the maximum maturity would be the termination date. And so just to clarify that point, if we were to issue tomorrow, which we're not going to do, but if we were to issue tomorrow, if the new termination date is less than 30 years, we couldn't have a maturity of 30 years. So it's really just a matter of language and keeping it flexible as to what the county commission can do, but certainly under the TIF Act and other West Virginia law, we couldn't issue any bonds that would have maturity later than the termination date of the district. And so that is your true outer limit of maturities, rather than 30 years from issuance.
We're actually making a motion to extend the TIF district 15 years
15 years, correct?
and not 30.
Correct.
No.
Yeah,
30, it would
30.
be a total of 30 from the,
30 would not be permissible under the TIF. There is a provision that allows extension by 15. The idea is that the actual language of the constitutional amendment says that such obligations can't have maturities later than 30 years from issuance. So we're just following that language. But the practical effect is the termination date of the district.
I understand.
The outer limit.
any further discussion?
Yes, ma'am. I would like to please note again for the public that the developer on his 2008 B bonds is an outstanding principal of 28 million. And with acquired interest that is 36 million, that So the principal and the interest have not been paid for several years. CED assessments are now at 16 million. And this commission is going to extend the bonds without knowing how they're going to get paid.
Well, the idea of this extension, just to clarify, the purpose of the extension is to facilitate a possible restructuring of the outstanding 2008 bonds in order to allow them to get paid,
Possible.
possibly.
But
But
we
again,
seen a plan.
well, I am not on a daily basis involved in this matter. Or Mr. Amen, my partner, Mr. Amen, would have more information on that. I don't have the answer to that right now. But the idea is that this would facilitate the possibility of doing that. And if that does happen, if there is a restructure of the outstanding bonds, it would obviously come before this commission again. And there would have to be such a plan.
So I guess my question is, Mr. Treecost, would you amend your motion to say that if they cannot show that it can be paid off during the term, that we will not extend the TIF if they're still going to be short in payment?
No,
So it's okay that at the end of the 30 years, they still have not paid the bonds off? Is that what you're saying today?
I'm gonna ask the question. Have we followed this process to the letter, the governor's signature, the passing of the Senate and the House?
So we have followed the procedure that's laid out by the TIF Act.
Yeah.
Governor and legislature not involved in this process. But the process has been followed that has been laid out by the TIF Act, the current provisions of the TIF Act, as far as holding public hearing, providing notice of public hearing, providing copies of that notice to levying bodies, submitting applications, submitting follow-up information to the Department of Economic Development. So that whole process, yes. has
Which
been
falls
followed.
under the governor.
Yeah,
No, sir. The governor did not have to sign off.
Governor
on this.
didn't-
So please
yeah,
do not
Governor-
drag the governor
Governor
into
falls
something
under-
he's not
Right.
involved with.
correct.
That's
The
all.
Secretary of the Department of Economic Development
Yes.
does
Okay.
serve under the governor. Yes.
Yes, he does. Mr. Farmer.
And did they submit a plan on how to pay it off?
Well, again, this is part of the process that will have to happen with negotiations with the bondholder. I don't have information about where that stands, but this is a necessary step to even allow for that restructure.
I understand it's a necessary step. My question is, if they can't show how it can be paid off in 30 years, and we're going to be left with a debt, are we going to be asked to extend it again?
Well, there is no current provision under the law that would allow it to
There
happen.
was no current provision till this group went to Charleston and lobbied to get this extension. So there's nothing to keep them from lobbying again.
I would agree with that. Yes.
So unless we, as the bond issuers,
Mhm.
not state, we're the
Yes.
final,
Yes. No.
And
no
we have
bonds are
the-
issued without the.
and
county
we have the
commission approval.
ability to set the terms of on how those bonds are sold.
Absolutely. This commission will have to take official action authorizing the issuance of any bonds. And at that time would probably be the appropriate time to ask about a plan. At this point, I don't know that there is anything concrete that can be provided to you. But this is just a step to allow those discussions.
So,
and to go-
so how does this step today keep the discussions going?
Well, it provides further time for repayment, which allows extension of maturities, either of the existing bonds or issuance of new bonds that would take out part of the old bonds. There are to reduce debt service on an annual basis to make it something more achievable based on the tax increment revenue,
Closer to achieve,
closer to achieve.
because the numbers still don't work.
Well, I'm not a number person,
I know.
so
That's okay. I've been told they don't work unless a lot of people give a lot of money up.
okay.
I guess my other question is, and again today, is that on July 10th, this commission sent a letter out to Mr. Crumbaker so that it would help this property TIF district that he would forgo CED assessments. Have we heard from him?
Not that I'm aware of.
Susan, Patsy, have you heard from him? So again, we're working on a project where the trustee has not even bothered to reply to us and let us even know that we need to keep spending money with Thrasher because if he says no, that it's not gonna happen. I mean, I'm sorry, not Thrasher, Steptoe and Johnson. We spend a lot with both of you. So we
Well,
have no answer to this.
I'm not aware of that. I can certainly follow up with that once I get back to the.
So we have a ton of debt over here. We got no information back from the trustee that he even wants to do this.
I would say that the trustee's attorney, Mr. Crumbaker, has indicated that this extension is a threshold step to being able to do any sort of restructure. So I would say it has his support in that way. I'm not aware of any specific statements made, but that is my understanding.
I want these two documents to be made part of the minutes. And that the public could see exactly with this commission down to the dollar and how we have not kept track of whether or not Mr. Person that we wrote to, nobody from this commission or who wrote the letter is followed up with the commission to see if the trustee is interested in working with us. I find that very unusual because we're the final approval and we have not heard a word. So I think I don't know why we're in a hurry to do something when the trustee doesn't seem to be in a hurry to sit down and talk to us. And here's a copy for the public if any of you want to look at it. On for
Any further discussion or questions for me before I sit down?
I have none.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Madam, he said 30 years. That we approving a 30-year extension or a 15-year
So
extension?
we're approving what it said, the maturity not later than 30 days from years from their issue date, correct?
Mhm.
Okay. All of those opposed,
No,
motion carried. Okay, we at 1010 had William Ramsey. We have nuisance case update. No improvements.
Good morning. My name is Charlotte Schaefer. I'm the Director of Harrison County for the Planning Department. Mr. Ramsey, I gave him the phone number to call in. He said he may have COVID. He wasn't sure. So I gave him the phone number to call in. I don't know if he's on or not.
Bill, are you on Zoom? Mr. Ramsey. Hear that he is not.
Okay. On July 17th, we had a meeting with the commission for Mr. Ramsey. And the commission gave him 30 days. It's been well over 30 days. And he has still done nothing. We did not hear from him in this time period either.
So the next step would be,
motion to move it to court.
motion's been made to move the William Ramsey nuisance case to the circuit court. Is that the next step, Charlotte? You're looking perplexed here.
We can move it to court, or you all could declare it an emergency nuisance within the IPMC and get it in the demo program. Mr. Ramsey, as I recall, had two parcels. One was more of a residential type structure. The other was a trailer or house which had burnt down, which I believe the commission approved acting on that before. So you have two avenues. One is move it to court, or the second is to declare it an emergency nuisance within the International Property Maintenance Code. And then that would give the planning department the right of entry, which it needs to put it in the next round of DEP remediation.
Who owns the property afterwards?
He still does.
Still owns the
If we
property.
take it to court, we own it.
No,
Not necessarily. When we take it to court, we usually end up, if the structures are ordered to be torn down, we end up in the same place, which is with a remediation lien against a property which has been improved in value because the liability is removed.
How big a nuisance is it to its neighbors?
oh.
Cause if I understand right, you're gonna put it in the next round of money where if we do it, we can expedite it faster.
You can expedite it faster through the International Property Maintenance Code. This is a rural property, so it's not directly adjacent to someone else's home. From reviewing the images prior to the meeting.
No, we had several houses on Junkins Avenue that we have torn down. These two properties are the last two properties on that road for us to clean up. Mr. Ramsey in the beginning did sign a waiver saying that we could tear it down. But then he came back months later when he found he didn't have any place to go and he wanted to move in it, which it is not,
Is he living in it now?
he is not, you can't live in it.
Motion to remove it, whichever is the fastest way to do it then. That's through the international code, then let's just do that.
Okay, so your motion, the fast of that is the quickest way, correct? Okay, then the motion is to put this on the DEP list, correct?
Yeah, let's make a motion if we can to declare it an emergency nuisance within the IPMC, which allows for the expedited abatements and direct the planning commission to carry out that order. And I'd certainly give Mr. Ramsey, try to communicate with him. We always try to do that.
Yeah,
Okay, motion to declare it an emergency.
Motion to declare it an emergency and add the language so stated by the attorney, okay?
Well,
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Number 9, review, discuss, consider updated anti-nepotism policy.
Madam President, we currently in our handbook have an anti-nepotism policy. And what is presented before you is an updated anti-nepotism policy. That would expand to any elected official or any county commission employee relatives being hired in other departments.
How is that different from what we currently have?
So the change in the policy, there's several changes. What we did is Laura and I did a survey of other anti-nepotism policies in West Virginia. We found that Clarksburg updated its policy in the 2019-2020 era. We took their policy, we tailored it to the county, and it essentially mirrors their policy. Your current policy doesn't address contractors, consultants, and this expands to those areas as well, which aligns it more with the West Virginia Ethics Act, which was one of the purposes of the revision, or really the primary purpose when it was revised. So it's a much broader anti-nepotism policy, which generally tracks the obligations under the Ethics Act.
I'll make the
I'm
motion.
gonna ask again, what's the difference? Like, that's what Susan asked. What are we changing?
Sure. So your current policy only applies to employees. It does not apply to contractors or third parties who the county contracts with. So that's one material, very large change on the face of the policy. The second main change is that this policy expressly defines the relatives to whom it applies, which is not found in your current anti-nepotism policy. And again, this policy is broader in the sense that it has a disclosure process in certain instances, and it applies to direct and indirect supervision. You still need more clarification?
No, but my, and this is always my question. How can we tell, for instance, Mr. Spires that he can't hire one of his neighbors?
That's a policy decision for you all to make as a commission. Your current policy allows for consideration of relatives as part of the hiring process. This policy, modeled off of Clarksburg, does not permit those type of hirings.
I guess my question is,
I've left my sheet in my car.
is it, that's fine for the city of Clarksburg, because
They don't have.
they don't have elected officials that have their own employees. And I guess my question is, did we sit down with the elected officials and discuss this?
So I have not sat down with the elected officials. This was for discussion today. There is another option, which is to update your current policy to make it apply to contractors, vendors, and to make the current policy broader to align with West Virginia law. But this was for discussion, as I understand it, and that's why we're here talking about it.
Can you give us where we're not following state law right now?
So the Ethics Act generally relates to personal gain or family members. It doesn't specifically address the items which would be in this anti-nepotism policy to the degree stated in this policy. So no, I don't think our current policy is contrary to the law. I think it's a good start to a process. I recommend either adopting the new policy or updating your current policy to apply to contractors, vendors, and third-party relationships, because that's a best government practice. Then we can make some other tweaks to that. But the concept of whether the county wants to consider relatives for hiring and personnel issues, that's a decision which you all have to make.
And that's the
That's-
motion I'll make on the floor today, that we do exactly as Trey, as county attorney and county administrator have recommended.
I personally need more time
Uh,
to dig into
Yeah,
this
I mean,
myself.
I think we owe it to the elected officials. I think we need to look at, we have lots of it that's going, I don't know what we're gonna consider, but there's mother, daughters, husband, wives, there's a lot of relationships that work within the county.
But I think if
This
we already
doesn't-
have
This
it,
doesn't impact any.
They would be
I know, I'm just saying, but we,
Vested.
Yeah,
we're vested, but we've been able to work around it. If there's ever been an issue, we've gone straight to the Ethics Commission and asked for a ruling. I think that we owe at least the elected officials, because we do share the employees.
You do share the employees, agree.
So I think for us just to fire this off, I think it's all part of that. We need to look at our whole handbook policy for all our employees. And it would be really great if we had an HR department to handle this kind of thing.
well, I'll call the question.
well, I just like this. I mean, I think we need a nepotism policy.
We have one.
Well, I want to dig deeper into what we have, so
Okay,
that's my thing.
thanks. May we please call the question, Madam President?
Okay, so you're moving to,
Adopt exactly as the county administrator and the county attorney has spoken.
okay, adopt the policy as stated by the attorney and the administrator. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No,
And only because I need more time. So.
So-
Okay,
Do we want another motion to bring it back at a later?
That's up to you all. I mean, we can,
I mean,
if you want more time, you want to bring it back in 30 days, give or take, and discuss it with the elected officials. Is that what we're hearing?
that's what I think we need to do. Look at it and look at other the policies and how it's going to affect what we do, but still is, we can't look at the county commission as a city. We just operate this little piece, and these elected officials, as Susan was a past elected official, for us just to walk in and tell Susan this is what you gotta
Not
do.
that I would not do that, but
But
I would
again,
argue if I was going to hire somebody, you
and
know,
you,
I would.
and you're right, and you'd want input.
It's a co-employer relationship.
So,
It's called-
and I just think we should give them that courtesy before we tell them how they have to run their offices. That's all. I just think it's, we owe that to John. We owe that to all the elected officials that the people of this county's elected to take care of those positions and those employees.
And I just want to say one more thing. It was brought to my attention that if you had I don't want to say kid, but I'm going to say kid that wanted to work at Parks and Recreation, who would want to stop their child from working at Parks and Recreation to learn that duty, or possibly even working to help at an election time? I think we need to look at something like that. Not, that wouldn't be a permanent, but like a temporary. Something to that effect, if that's possible. So, okay, that's my 2 cents. We'll move on. Number 10, review, discuss, consider potential acquisition of Joyce Properties, Inc. parcels located in the Clark Independent District of Harrison County, West Virginia, for the development of a regional farm complex. Potential executive session pursuant to West Virginia Code 69A4 to consider matters involving or affecting the purchase, sale, or lease of property, advanced construction planning, the investment of public funds, or other matters involving commercial competition, which if made public might adversely affect the financial or other interests of the county commission.
Yeah, I'd like to have 3 to 5 minutes executive session with you all, as stated on the agenda. If someone would be so kind as to make that motion.
Motion to go in executive session. Do you want me to state a number? Code
For-
66-9A-4.
Yes.
Okay.
Motion to go into executive session under West Virginia Code 69A4. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion to go back into session, Madam President,
Motion to go back into
regular session.
session out of executive session. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carried. Action to be taken on number 10.
I make a motion for Laura to evaluate multiple locations for the livestock barn and bring those evaluations back to the commission as soon as possible.
Motion's been made to allow to have Laura evaluate various locations and come back to us as soon as possible, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None, motion carried. What'd you do over there? Okay, review, discuss, consider creating 2 more positions for 911 dispatchers.
Motion to approve creating 2 more positions for 911 dispatcher, Madam President.
Motion to approve 2 more positions for 911 dispatchers. Is there any discussion?
Positions for
Dispatchers.
as dispatchers only, or are we looking for other?
So these 2 positions would be just for telecommunicators.
Okay. Just for that.
Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None, motion carried. Number 12, review, discuss, consider creating 2 more maintenance positions, so 2 more can be assigned to the rail trail maintenance.
Motion to approve 2 more positions for rail trail maintenance, Madam President.
Motion to approve 2 more positions for rail trail maintenance. Any discussion?
Are these going to be full-time positions?
Mhm.
That's my
And
understanding.
we have the money budgeted for this in this coming budget? And where we're gonna be moving the money from.
There's professional services that coming out of, also, transfer us.
And is there anybody here to speak on why we need to give two more people for maintenance?
I mean, I personally have been out on the trails and they definitely need some help.
And our guys for 4 months a year don't do anything but cut
Cut
grass.
grass.
They
And they can work on that in the
Can't-
fall,
can't do anything.
cutting back
Yeah, they're gonna do
and
more.
maintaining.
They'll do more between September and April to fix that trail than they will. So
So,
each of you guys will end up cutting grass in the end.
so the 4 guys that are cutting grass now do what in fall? Or how many people do we have in maintenance now?
Total, including custodial.
And how many are designated rail trail?
Not our district. We have 3, actually have 4 that are dedicated outside work. But the bigger part of the year, they are tied up with other cutting grass.
Cause they do the parks too, Danny, right?
They do all the parts. Yeah. Animal control. And a lot of their time in the fall and early spring is spent brush off.
So so if we actually hired people for Parks and Rec and used levy money, you could take your employees and put them back over to the general account on rail trail.
Well, as they take care of all the grass. Problem right now is we're spread too thin, we can't keep up with the trail because our people are always cutting grass.
I guess, Patsy, what I'm suggesting is that if we're taking maintenance and taking care of Parks and Rec has its own budget, why wouldn't we just hire a couple of people for Parks and Rec?
I
To
couldn't,
keep the grass cut and all that done and free up the guys for Danny? It kind of serves your purpose, but it moves these people and moves the others into where we have a Parks and Rec department that they actually have their own maintenance and aren't relying on Danny to cut grass and take care of things.
I guess what I'm gonna ask Madam President is, can that fall under Danny? Because we have. I mean, I've been
I
talking,
think that's something that needs to be decided.
yeah.
Who is in charge of
Yeah,
those at Parks and Rec and I guess they have a maintenance person out there, but who's in charge of that person?
So right now, Parks and Rec has one maintenance person that falls under the director.
yeah, I want it to fall under the county commission. I don't care where the money comes from, and they can hire them.
And make sure the work gets done.
Right, I agree.
Yeah, I'm not arguing. I'm just saying the money would come out of the levy money instead of coming out of our general account. Because the levy money's there for maintenance of the parks.
Do we have it in, what would it be in the levy? Okay,
So that's all I'm suggesting is that we just hire 2 people to take care of the parks, free up 2 of his people that are running around cutting parks, and just in that way, he's got them for rail trail and any other maintenance, and he's not getting Parks and Rec pulling at him to come take care
That
of
work
stuff.
for you, Danny?
but
I
that
think-
falls under him, right, David? Your motion is that those 2 individuals fall
No,
under Danny.
No, they would fall strictly under Parks and Recs. That Danny's getting relieved of that headache.
Okay.
That would be the best way for you, isn't it? Not to have to worry about cutting grass at parks. Okay, then it just makes it easier for the pay.
Okay, then I want to negotiate with you right now. We
Okay.
need 2 people to cut the parks, Dan. I mean, what are they gonna be doing?
No, they're gonna hire Parks and Rec's gonna hire.
But what are they gonna do when the grass isn't growing? We need them on the trail, fixing the trail. You understand what I'm saying? We have a 4-month problem of grass. We have an 8-month problem not a problem, a time to fix what, like, she gets stuck in her bike on the way to Lost Creek. That's gotta get fixed in the 8 months. So those two guys have to come under Danny for 8 months, so they're gonna be sitting out the park and recreation with nothing to do.
I don't know how they operate.
I'm telling you how they operate. They don't, if they don't have grass to cut, what are they gonna be working on?
Hopefully the other things, the other equipment, I mean, to be honest with you, I went out the other day, if you go to Summit Park, the roof's falling apart on the picnic table area, it needs painted. I mean, there's all kinds of maintenance that needs done, Patsy. You got a playgrounds that need upgraded and repaired. I mean, there's lots of things these guys can do besides cut grass. I mean, Danny doesn't have time to take care of the 100% of the maintenance that Parks and Rec needs. I mean, the structures are no good.
I see what as a utility worker, I see 6, 7, 8 months a year to 2 people sitting outside on the curb. I'm telling you, I've lived this life and I love what you're thinking about the money, but I'm telling you, if it doesn't stay under maintenance, 8 months a year, these fellas or ladies are gonna have nothing to do and it drives me crazy. And I can't do that. I can't watch more people walk around here and do nothing. I watch people take 27 smoke breaks a day and it
Well,
tortures me.
Can we do this? They put them under Parks and Rec. And if we need more help somewhere else, they come over here.
Make them flex,
Okay.
but their first would be to take
But I'm
care
with
of.
him. I don't want to see anybody sitting.
Well, it's
on their
vice
bar.
versa. I mean, whether it's who they work for, don't want to see it, but
Oh,
I understand what
agree.
you're saying, Dan, but if it doesn't stay under, I mean,
They could work so many months under Parks and Rec and so many months under here.
we,
that's
and it's not just here, it's everywhere. You have those who do
I
and
mean,
those
we
who
just gotta
don't.
watch what we.
right. I understand. I'm
telling them, but we've got to score with the rail trail during the 8 months of non-grass as much as we can. And if those guys are fixing a roof,
well, I think we got a little more than 8 months cutting grass.
well, so whatever.
Probably,
Yeah,
you're probably at about 7 months nowadays.
Well, actually, we're in a drought, so nobody's grass is growing, but,
That's what I was thinking the whole time we're talking about cutting grass.
yeah, but, I just know, David, what's gonna happen. And you've owned a business. You know, you have the do's and the don'ts.
Well, but that's a matter of whether you keep them as employees. So,
Yeah, I've tried to get rid of some employees. It doesn't work.
if it doesn't
I
work
don't
out,
know.
Patsy, we can change it.
I don't know. I,
Let's just hire 2 more Parks and Rec.
okay.
And then hopefully we can work it out. Danny and James can work it out. Or
And I'm not even gonna rule out at some point for us to even consider whether or not you put again, grass cutting out for contract every year.
I don't, I'm confused on how we went from the rail trail to now hiring 2 people park and recreation.
Trying to, just to make,
Grass.
because we're moving money around and it wasn't in the original budget and in the levy money, we know we're carrying levy money over from the parks because we're not using it, and it allows Laura then to keep the money in the places in case we need it down the road.
next year we look at, or we start looking at. Get prices on grass and see what it costs to farm it out. And then you weigh it. I don't have an issue with that. But right now, all I know is we need people to get these rail trails maintained. That's all
But we're hiring 2 people that aren't going to be working on it, just so you know that if we vote this way.
No,
No.
the 2 people that he has working on, it, we're gonna replace. He's gonna bring them over to rail trail.
The 2 people that he has working on it do work on it in the fall, but he can't keep up with it in the summer. So what we're doing is we're hiring 2 people that actually the rail trails can be worked on 12 months a year. Instead of. It's never going to stop being worked on as we keep picking up miles and miles of rail trail, no different than the District of Highways. You have to have more people to work on it. And the contracting thing sounds like a great idea, but they contracted out doing the ditch work instead of having the state do it. It's turned into a disaster.
If I may,
I can see both points of this. I do have a comment about them going under park. We're all aware of how our parks have been neglected. If we put two maintenance on our parks back. They'll be busy. on Parks and Rec.
Okay.
Stuff, that's what I'm saying, they won't. They'll be able to cut grass and everything, but they're not gonna be able to stop in the winter time to go up on the rails. So if we're wanting more people to the rail trail, then we gotta find, I have to balance the boat.
Well, I think that's for Danny to come back and tell us if we free up 2 people and he needs more for rail trail.
I think the reason we're here today is because he needs more people for retro. We're missing the one thing. He
He doesn't
work.
have people to commit to the rail trail, right?
I do not.
Okay, and that's what we're trying to do.
And that's because they're out cutting parks and taking care of parks. You have guys that do that.
Correct.
So if they don't have to do that anymore, then somebody else cuts grass for parks and your guys are to you to go use them on the rail trail. And it gives the guys over at Parks and Rec to hire some people that maybe have more than grass cutting skills, have some carpentry skills, and we can get the buildings repaired and even ease it up even more on Danny, because right now, if there's a mechanical issue, he has the responsibility to run out there and take care of it.
David, I've asked for the hours to be put on this building for 6 weeks. You think they're gonna fix a roof? Just want 8 AM to 4 PM when the freaking wind outside, and I can't get it for some reason. And you think we're gonna fix a roof? Okay, make your motion.
We hired 2 people to go to works for Parks and Rec to handle maintenance for Parks and Rec.
Motion's made to hire 2 people for maintenance at Parks and Rec.
Mhm.
What is gonna be the duties of those 2 people?
Cutting grass, anything that they can do to ease up for Danny. They're gonna have to take care of all grass cutting at all parks.
And that'll ease up people for you.
Also including that to pick up grass for other facilities.
Yeah, the 911 center, the CCC building there, the courthouse, the front yard, yeah, animal control.
And then you'll have the people to put on the trail.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Okay.
And then Laura, you let me know what they do in December.
Plow snow.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No,
Okay. I'd like to revisit this again. Once we get somebody hired to make sure that this is working. It's just my 2 cents. Because if it's not, then we'll need to make a change.
I agree.
So how about, what's a good time? A year from now or 8 months from now? Calendar that so we can, if you would please, so we can discuss. Okay, number 13, review, discuss, consider purchasing a skid steer with roller attachment for maintenance.
motion to approve the skid steer and roller for attachment for maintenance, please.
Motion to purchase, right?
Mhm.
A skid steer with roller attachment for maintenance. Any discussion?
Yes, ma'am. What do we need a skid steer and a roller for? Somebody,
To maintain the gravel part of the trail. In order to keep the trail smooth, we have to put a top layer of choke on it. This is where the roller attachment. But if you don't roll that, wash it right away, you have to roll that tight. Other than that, though, you don't need choke on top, trail will rock, everybody right by. So that would be for the attachment. The skid steer, you know, probably 90% I'll say 70% more efficient, maintaining the gravel part of the trail as part of our mini excavator. A lot less time spent on that, our excavators, you move for ditch work along the trail, that sort of thing. The tractor that we have used on the trail has an articulated arm, with a brush hog attached to it, and that's primarily what it's used. We did look at getting a roller attached for the mini excavator, but because of the age of the excavator, setup is not the same now. It's a two, it has two hydraulic motors. The new one has three. One is for dump valves. I did talk to the company that is going to buy it on about we don't have anybody around for qualified to do that. Asked them to install it, they were comfortable doing it. So I consulted a mechanic that works on heavy equipment. He said it's very involved to my record.
So how much is the roller?
Or attached to itself. I think it's not
And how much is the machine?
It was 62, is that right?
67?
I'll borrow my pen.
And how often do we have to roll the,
Anytime.
anytime? So every time you put a little bit of gravel on it, we're gonna roll it. Okay.
That's part of the problem we have now. We put gravel down, we try to track it in with the machine we have, but it doesn't do compact.
And the roller that you're gonna buy is a vibrator roller, or is it just a straight weight?
The way it's set up on that piece of machinery is the actual weight of it is about 3,000 pounds. But it's set up so that you elevate the front of the skid steer, put more down pressure on it, you wind up with more like 7,500 pounds. The rest of it.
And there's no roller we can get that can pull behind the Komatsu.
I checked, and I mean, we can get one to pull behind it, but it won't be vibratory, so I don't think it'll just go with that.
And how much rail trail do we have that's traveled?
That figure, but I have very little space, so.
Okay, I guess my next question would be for Susan and Patsy. Are we gonna continue to pay rail trail or are we done? Because again, this is a little bit where I'm confused. When the people in Shinston asked for gravel, we gave them asphalt. And now we're getting into gravel. Where's the rest of the rail trail? Well, Patsy, they came and presented a
I
petition.
knew this was gonna go south at some point.
They
so here
presented
we
a
are.
petition.
Here we
I
are.
just want to know, are we paving all the rail trail? We're gonna gravel it. That's all. If we're not gonna do any more paving, then I'm fine with, if you want to make this, are we done with
Because
the
you can
paving?
make a trail this way, that's just as good as asphalt.
Well, I mean.
That was
it's
said the
more-
last time.
It's not-
we
it's not-
paid.
It won't last as long as like.
No.
I'll have to revisit it, but it will be.
But as far as cost. Right. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No,
Motion carried. Number 14, review, discuss, consider a resolution authorizing the acceptance of funds from the West Virginia Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Management Grant Program.
Good morning. I'm just asking for the commission to authorize the president to sign the resolution accepting the funds from the Emergency Management Performance Grant What that grant does is, it's a yearly grant that we get money from. And it partially pays for the, OEM director's salary, as well as some of the supplies and any equipment that they would need to purchase.
Motion to approve and affix the proper signature, correct? Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None motion carried. Next, number 15, review, discuss, consider a resolution accepting funds from 2024. I think that's Help America Vote Act Security Funds Grant Program. But maybe it is helping, I don't.
It's, yeah, Helping America Vote Act. And,
Help.
yes,
It used to be help.
yeah, it's still helping.
Okay.
Yep. So yeah, it's a 50-50 grant. So, our county clerk has purchased equipment that, will be used during the election period. And it's a more secured system. And what this money here is for is to buy another one in the event that something happens to the original one, that he has a backup, so things can move along and still be counted and still be secured.
Motion to approve resolution and affix the signature, proper signature. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Thank you, Gina. Okay, number 16, 17, and 18. Can we take all of these together? It appears that this is travel for 911 dispatchers. October 21st, 22nd, and 23rd to various trainings.
16, 17, 18 for 911 training.
Motion to approve 16, 17, and 18 for 911 training. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Number 19, review, discuss, consider reappointing Robert Heinball to the Summit Park PSD Board of Directors.
Reappoint.
Motion to reappoint Mr. Heinball to the Summit Park PSD Board, correct? Is there any discussion? And there was a letter sent from them, correct?
That is correct.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? None, motion carried. Number 20, review, discuss, consider reappointing Marcel Malfajo to the Harrison County Civil Service Commission for Deputy Sheriffs for a 2-year term, August 28, 24 through August 27th, 2026. What's the pleasure? Motion to reappoint Mr. Malfajo to the Harrison County Civil Service Commission. Any discussion?
We have a letter from the deputy sheriffs requesting this. Mhm. But he's representing. Isn't he an appointment by the deputies?
That's what it looks like. What it says.
So we'd normally appoint someone that the deputies ask us to appoint.
They have access. But anything else.
And they did handpick him 2 years ago.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
No,
Number 21, review, discuss, consider awarding the demolition bid for round 3 of DEP demolition program.
Madam President, this is round 3 of demo of the different structures. Money, this is actually for 12 structures in this round. The lowest bid is Reclaim in the amount of $110,100. I recommend that we go with Reclaim bid as they were proposed.
It's amazing the difference in those.
It's because they had the landfill.
Yes.
I know, but
Well, 5 of them has.
No, but I'm talking in the prices of the bids. That's
Keep tearing them down. Motion approved.
motion to approve an award bid to Reclaim, correct?
Mhm.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? None motion carried. Number 22, Administrators Report.
I do have a big one. First is, I want to share this from that Frank Society, actually, in Alabama, last week, we did an assessment of our control. In 2023, the state rate at control was only 14%. Have to say, so far this year, we're at 82% state rate, and that's putting these animals into rescues, inside of adoption and everything else. So that's a huge accomplishment for our animal control. So another thing that they have done is they have started a pet pantry, and that's to collect food. Unfortunately, some individuals surrender their animals because they just can't afford to feed them anymore. This is trying to help people retain their animals. They might develop for that. So I just want to share that. Note from that I want to share for our taxpayers, the deadline to receive the 2.5% discount on the first half of 2024 is being extended to Tuesday, September 3rd. Because of when the first falls, the new tax office, as well as all of the county commission offices will be closing at noon on Friday. The Italian Heritage Festival. The court shall remain open for that day. No commission meeting next week. It's going to be a Labor Day on Monday. The next one will be on September 11th. And currently, if anyone has noticed, like I did this morning, our maps are currently down on the assessor's website and everything. So we're working on getting that back up. And that is all I.
Commissioner Hinkle,
No, ma'am.
Commissioner Treecott,
Well, you're on vacation next week. Who do you want us to? Who's going to be sitting in your place? Who?
Michelle Hall.
yeah, but I have nothing. Motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed. Motion carried.